Bottom line. Conclusão.
The bottom line is that we need another $10,000 to complete the project. The bottom line is we don't have enough healthcare professionals. A student with special needs can cost more, but the bottom line is that the state must provide for the child's education. The bottom line is that men don't change very much after marriage. Here's the bottom line. Showers and thunderstorms are likely, mainly between 4 p.m. and midnight on Thursday. I know about all the problems, but what is the bottom line? What will happen?
Ponto principal.
Most people want to work in a place where they feel valued. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is that they lost the game.
O ponto principal.
If our flight is late, we will miss our connection. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is that he's gone and he's not coming back.
Lucros.
How will the rise in interest rates affect our bottom line? When he considers a potential investment, he looks strictly at the bottom line.
Lucros.
These small promotions were costly, and they did nothing to increase his bottom line. Many companies see that becoming more energy efficient can help the bottom line.
Preço final.
They will accept $235,000 for the house, and that's their bottom line.
E o ponto final.
Before beginning a negotiation, know your bottom line.
É o preço final.
Don't tell me all those figures, just tell me the bottom line. She says 95,000 pounds is her bottom line.
É o preço final. Brunch.
We always have brunch together on Sunday.
Brunch.
As the weather hots up, what could be better than a lazy brunch at the weekend?
Breakfast and lunch.
Community events include concerts, flea markets, brunches, classes, and lectures. A brunch and a dinner party are popular examples of places to socially gather over food. The next day, the girls went to brunch and received an envelope containing the name of the girl to be eliminated. From 10:45 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. is the brunch interval. Breakfast was served so late that it was almost a brunch. The restaurant is also open for brunch from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. the second Sunday of each month. Only serving dinner initially, the business partners eventually added brunch service once a week. Restaurants are already booked for brunches and dinners. On Christmas morning, she'll be at her daughter's, tucking into a brunch of eggs Benedict, bacon, sausages, and waffles. There are less formal meals, picnics, and barbecues, and the forthcoming brunch is one of these occasions.
Give your time the day. Lhe dê atenção.
If you're lucky, she might give you the time of day.
Ela talvez lhe dê atenção.
Unless you're a celebrity, he won't give you the time of day.
Lhe dará atenção.
He was a lovely man. He'd always stop and give you the time of day. Her father and her brothers were always too busy to bother about her and would hardly give her the time of day. My colleagues wouldn't give me the time of day after they found out that my father had influenced the company's decision to hire me.
Give me the time of day. Me dê atenção.
Once he found such huge success, Tom wouldn't give any of his old friends the time of day. That guy didn't give me the time of day back in high school, and now he won't stop calling me. Mary won't speak to Sally. She won't give her the time of day. I couldn't get an appointment with Mr. Smith. He wouldn't even give me the time of day. He's tried to be friendly, but she won't give him the time of day. We had an argument with our neighbors, and now they won't even give us the time of day. He kept pestering me to go out with him, but I wouldn't give him the time of day. I needed their help, but they wouldn't give me the time of day.
Me dê atenção. Call it a day. Encerrar por hoje.
You've been studying hard. I think you should call it a day.
Encerrar por hoje.
Our legs were beginning to ache, so we decided to call it a day.
Call it a day.
I'm getting a bit tired now. Let's call it a day. An hour or so of being battered by wind and rain, with only one small fish each, we decided to call it a day. I searched for hours, but I had to call it a day when darkness fell. At 5 o'clock, I decided to call it a day.
Encerrar o expediente.
At 5 o'clock, I decided to call it a day. We'd painted half the room and were feeling a bit tired, so we decided to call it a day. When we still couldn't find the source of the discrepancy, we decided to call it a day and revisit it tomorrow. This package is the last one. Once we get this shipped, we can call it a day.
Encerrar o expediente.
The boss was mad because Tom called it a day at noon and went home.
Encerrar o expediente.
I'm tired. Let's call it a day.
Tô cansado. Chega por hoje.
I'm tired. Let's call it a day. Come on, guys. Let's call it a day.
Chega por hoje.
Look, we're all tired. Let's call it a day.
Vamos parar por aqui.
It's no secret I want his job when he calls it a day.
Aposentar.
I'm getting too old for this. Perhaps it's time to call it a day.
Descansar.
She's finally decided to call it a day and retire as manager. She has spent over 40 years looking after the people of Kildavin and decided to call it a day.
Hora de descansar.
After 14 years living and working in this country, she thinks it's time to call it a day. Tomorrow is going to be busy, so let's call it a night.
Encerrar pela noite.
One more hand of poker and then let's call it a night.
Encerrar pela noite.
After a couple more pints, he was ready to call it a night.
Be well aware. Estou bem ciente.
I am well aware of the dangers involved.
Eu estou bem ciente.
She's well aware that not everyone agrees.
Well aware.
I'm well aware of the risks involved with the surgery, but I still intend to get it. She was well aware that he was married. My daughter has a rare disease, as I know you are well aware.
Tem plena consciência.
I'm well aware of the problem, but thanks for the heads up.
Pelo aviso, heads up.
She's well aware of her strengths and weaknesses as an artist. At the same time, people were well aware of the social, economic, and political issues they would have to face. We are well aware of your disdain for this project.
Estamos bem cientes.
I am well aware that I punished the wrong man. Both Moscow and Beijing are well aware that our countries have not exhausted their potentials.
Back in.
The last time we saw Lowell was back in January.
Foi lá em janeiro.
She was the one who had fired him from his first job back in South America.
Foi lá na África do Sul.
The house was built back in 1235. They stayed here for a few days back in 2008. Now let's talk about an event back in the last century. No one had ever heard of chronic fatigue syndrome, back in 1920.
Nine.
Meanwhile, back in London, Patrick was tying the knot. The story starts back in 1950 when I was 5. I was in St. Lucia back in February. They met in Chicago back in 1976.
Lá em. Don't be a stranger.
It was really nice seeing you again. Don't be a stranger.
Esse não some.
We need to keep in touch. Don't be a stranger.
Esse não some.
Now that we live so close to one another, don't be a stranger. Hey, John, I haven't seen you around here these days. Keep in touch, man. Don't be a stranger. What a nice visit. I look forward to seeing you next time. Don't be a stranger. I'm going back to Brazil, and you're going back to Italy. Here is my email address. Please don't be a stranger. Have fun on your vacation. I hope you enjoy Mexico. Don't be a stranger. Stop by the house sometime. Don't be a stranger.
Esse não some.
Good luck to you. I hope we will meet again soon. Don't be a stranger. Now that you know where we are, don't be a stranger. It was a pleasure working with you, and I'm sad that you're leaving. Don't be a stranger, will you?
Don't know Jack. Não sabe nada.
You don't know jack about me, girl.
Você não sabe nada sobre mim, garota.
You don't know jack about me, girl. Sometimes you act like I don't know jack. They don't know jack about emergency medicine. We don't know jack right now, all right? Maybe we don't trust you because we still don't know jack about you. I don't know jack about any of this, okay?
Não sei nada.
I told you he doesn't know jack about cars. He doesn't know jack about law enforcement, but he loves wearing that uniform. All that schooling, and the chairman of psychiatry doesn't know jack about women. I'm smart enough to realize you don't know jack about this. I don't know jack about fashion, but I know what I like to wear. For a man who's supposed to have all the answers, you don't know jack. In short, Dinger or Homer or whoever it was who wrote the Odyssey didn't know jack about travel.
Catch somebody's eyes.
I tried to catch the waiter's eye so we could order.
Catch, atrair a atenção do garçom.
A sudden movement caught my eye.
Um movimento súbito me atraiu a atenção. Caught my eye.
A sudden movement caught my eye. It was the unusual color of his jacket that caught my eye. We were waiting to be served for nearly 15 minutes before I was able to catch the eye of one of the waiters. We need a new advertising campaign that really catches the eye of younger people. There was one painting that caught my eye. He tried to catch the attendant's eye, but the man was already turning away. Out on the freeway, a billboard caught his eye.
Atraiu a atenção.
Every time she caught his eye, she would glance away embarrassed. The restaurant was a busy one, and it was quite some time before we managed to catch the waiter's eye. As she turned back, a movement across the lawn caught her eye. I tried to catch Chrissy's eye to find out what she was playing at.
Turning point. Movimento decisivo.
Having the baby was a turning point in their lives. Figures published last month suggest the housing market is at a turning point.
Momento crítico.
The turning point came when the company's products were featured in the national press.
Momento decisivo.
A turning point is one in which the average developmental trajectory is disrupted in a positive or negative fashion. The vote yesterday appears to mark something of a turning point in the war.
Ponto decisivo.
Hungary's opening of the border was a turning point for the refugees.
Momento decisivo.
He had reached the turning point of his career. Winning that game was the turning point of the team's season. That job was a major turning point in her career. 1956 marked a turning point in Franco's political and personal life.
Get used to.
This is how we do things here. You'll soon get used to it.
Você logo se acostumará.
You quickly get used to using the brakes. I can't get used to the idea that you're grown up now. He walked like an old man, trying to get used to his new glasses.
Acostumar.
Is she getting used to her new job?
Acostumando.
I can't seem to get used to the idea of you leaving the country. It took them a long time to get used to their new boss. Have you got used to driving on the left yet? Sally is getting used to waking up early because of her new job. It took me a few months, but I've finally gotten used to my new house.
Let someone know. Avise-me.
Let me know if you need any help.
Avise-me se você precisar de ajuda.
I don't know if I can come, but I'll let you know soon.
Eu a avisarei.
Let me know what you think of him.
Conte-me.
If you do want to go, please let me know.
Deixe-me saber.
Let me know if you're going to the party. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Let me know when he arrives. Be sure to let me know if anything changes between now and then. Let us know when you get there. Will you be coming to the picnic? Please let me know. Let me know how I can help. I let the boss know about the development yesterday.
Tie the knot. Casar.
So when are you two going to tie the knot?
Tie the knot.
All of my friends have tied the knot and started having kids. John and Mary are tying the knot this summer in France. We tied the knot in a little chapel on the Arkansas border. The couple tied the knot last year after a 13-year romance. Len tied the knot with Kate 5 years ago. When did you two decide to tie the knot? Maybe he has good reasons for not feeling ready to tie the knot yet. It was hard to find somebody to tie the knot at that hour.
Celebrar o casamento.
It only took a few minutes for the ship's captain to tie the knot.
Celebrar o casamento.
They asked their friend, who is a judge, to tie the knot.
Come out swinging. Foi com tudo pra cima.
He came out swinging at his critics, accusing them of having their own agenda. The company knew it was going to have to come out swinging.
Vir com tudo, come out swinging.
They may be underdogs in this series, but you can be sure that they'll come out swinging.
Virão com tudo.
It's time for Biden to come out swinging.
Vir com tudo.
America's biggest tech firms, including Amazon, Facebook, and Google, have come out swinging against tax reforms in France. He is ready to come out swinging. We just knew we had to come out swinging, and we did. They say he is ready to come out swinging in the next debate. He also used the news conference as an opportunity to come out swinging at his opponents.
Ver com tudo.
We knew they'd come out swinging. They're one of the best teams here.
Come out swinging.
Chinese state media were mysteriously quiet when Trump threatened to raise tariffs again on May 5th. But since then, they've come out swinging.
Be entitled to. Ter o direito.
You are entitled to a refund.
Você tem direito a reembolso.
They are entitled to travel first class. The police said he was entitled to his opinion.
Tinha direito.
In the UK, anyone over the age of 75 is entitled to a free television license. You are entitled to love again, but the timing must be right. He is entitled to be where he is. We are all entitled to equal protection under the law. She is not only entitled to her political opinions, she is entitled to express them as long as she respects other points of view. Therefore, the defendants were not entitled to use violence in self-defense.
Não tinham direito.
I think the people are entitled to own the same weapons as the government. I am entitled to be in a relationship with Mike. This is my house, and I am entitled to know what happens under its roof.
Gung-ho. Entusiasta.
I have a grandson who is gung-ho for football.
Gung-ho. Entusiasta.
The film stars Mark Burgess Ashton as the gung-ho fighter pilot.
Entusiasta piloto de caça.
The film stars Mark Burgess Ashton as the gung-ho fighter pilot. Mrs. Mahmood had organized the party with her customary gung-ho zeal.
Gung-ho.
He has warned some of his more gung-ho generals about the consequences of an invasion.
Entusiastas.
There are plenty of pitfalls that gung-ho entrepreneurs don't stop to consider. She was gung-ho about her new job. Senate Republicans are less gung-ho about tax cuts.
Entusiasmados.
We were really gung-ho about joining the team. Bobby is really gung-ho on his plan to start his own company. I didn't think that the project was a good idea, but everyone else was so gung-ho about it that I decided to give it a try.
Give something a try. Experimenta.
Why don't you give it a try and see if you like it? Tony's planning to give skiing a try this winter.
Experimentar.
I have given hiking a try in the past. It's just not for me. He approached dating as a hobby, thinking I'd just give it a try. I always wanted to give windsurfing a try. I reckon it could be fun. Are you having trouble fixing the printer? Let me give it a try.
Deixe-me tentar.
Why not give the library a try? He's usually there on Tuesdays.
Experimentar.
Do you want to try driving my car to see how you like it? Sure, I'll give it a try. I'm not usually much good at this sort of game, but I'll give it a go. I need to get more exercise, so I'm going to give cycling to work a go.
Bicicleta para o trabalho.
I know you've never done this kind of work before, but give it a go and see how you do.
Give it a go. Give it a try.
Why not give it a go? You may find it easier than you thought.
Give it a go.
Therefore, it was with some trepidation I decided to give it a go.
Experimentar. Give it a go. Hit the jackpot. Ganhar uma bolada.
Stop wasting your money on lottery tickets. It's not like you'll ever hit the jackpot.
Ganhar uma bolada.
I hit the jackpot in the big contest. Sally hit the jackpot in the lottery. We needed a poster board and hit the jackpot at the art supply store down the street. I went through all the people called LaSalle's in the Sydney phone book until I hit the jackpot.
Achei o que procurava. Hit the jackpot.
I hit the jackpot when I found this little cafe on 4th Street.
Acertei em cheio.
I wanted a small house with a fireplace, and I really hit the jackpot with this one. He seems to have hit the jackpot with his new invention.
Tido muito sucesso.
The National Theatre hit the jackpot with its first musical, Guys and Dolls. The 3 actors hit the jackpot when they opened their restaurant in New York. She's hit the jackpot with her latest book. It sold millions.
Teve muito
She hit the
sucesso.
jackpot with her first novel, which sold over 1 million copies. I think we hit the jackpot with the advertising. Our sales have doubled.
Deu sorte grande.
Marcy hit the jackpot with her new job. Marcy hit the jackpot with her new job. It's basically her dream job plus a huge salary. When it comes to boyfriends, Tina hit the jackpot. Dean is basically the perfect guy. She hit the jackpot at the auction. That platter turned out to be genuine Meissen.
Ela deu grande sorte no leilão. Descobriu-se que a travessa de porcelana Mason é genuína.
She hit the jackpot at the auction. That platter turned out to be genuine Meissen.
Go for broke. Ir com tudo.
We have to go for broke with this marketing campaign if we want our product launch to be successful.
Ir com tudo.
Okay, this is my last chance. I'm going for broke.
Vou dar o máximo.
Look at Mary starting to move in the final 100 yards of the race. She is really going for broke.
Indo com tudo.
It was in the final 10 minutes that the men went for broke.
Arriscar tudo.
I'm gonna go for broke. I am madly in love with you. I decided to go for broke and turn professional. There is a reluctance to take risks with new plays while going for broke on musicals. 3 astronauts plan to walk in space today in a go-for-broke effort to retrieve a communications satellite. I decided to go for broke and start my own business.
Arriscar tudo.
We decided to go for broke, and that is exactly how we ended up. It was a sharp disagreement about whether to go for broke or whether to compromise.
Arriscar tudo.
This is my last chance to achieve what I want. I am going to go for broke. I am a risk taker, and I would have gone for broke during the dot-com boom.
Blind date. Encontro às cegas.
Elaine arranged for me to go on a blind date with a guy from her office. Suppose one of your friends sets up a blind date for you with a handsome and funny guy. She went out on a blind date with her friend's cousin. My cousin met a man on a blind date, and they went out for 6 years, Kenny said. The couple met in 2014 on a blind date and were engaged just a few months later. During a 2015 interview with Huffington Post Live, Jeffrey told the adorable story of his first blind date with Hillary. Each blind date is set up by the participant's friend, who usually gives a backstory about the participant.
Encontro às cegas.
Blind dates are terrifying because you don't know what the person will be like. A friend of mine set up a blind date for me with his girlfriend's sister. Fans of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are well aware that the couple first met when they were introduced by a friend and set up on a blind date.
In store. Em loja física.
Online sales are catching up with in-store sales.
Em loja física.
Look for regular in-store offers.
Dentro das lojas.
In addition to selling food, most locations also have an in-store restaurant and coffee bar. Open 24 hours a day, they offered fresh coffee roasted in-store. Loyalty cards offer regular customers discounts on everything they buy in-store. None of us knew what lay in store.
Aguardava. Nenhum de nós sabia o que nos aguardava.
None of us knew what lay in store. You never know what's in store for you.
O que está à espera?
There's a shock in store for him when he gets home tonight.
Espera.
There were also surprises in store for me. Who knows what lies in store for the president?
Reservado.
What's in store this time?
O que está por vir dessa vez?
No one knows what the future has in store, but we can try to prepare accordingly.
O que o futuro trará.
There are many adventures in store for you, but first you must complete your training. None of us knows what lies in store for us tomorrow. Some good lies in store for me, I think. There's a real treat in store for you this Christmas. As we left, I wondered what the future held in store.
Aguardava para nós. Outdated. Ultrapassada.
Nowadays, this technique is completely outdated. The company is finding it hard to compete because of the outdated equipment it is using. Staff shortages and an outdated computer system are blamed for the problem.
Ultrapassadas.
His writing style is now boring and outdated. The ferries were safe, but too often they were outdated and uncomfortable. This estimate was made on the basis of outdated figures.
Desatualizados.
It is an outdated and inefficient system, which is not appropriate for this type of work.
Desatualizado.
The library has several outdated financial planning books on its shelves, including a tax preparation guide from 1995. Outdated laws and regulations are failing to keep crime on the internet in check. Outdated textbooks, decrepit buildings, overcrowded classrooms. The list of problems is long and growing.
Proves someone wrong. Você provou que eu estou errado.
Okay, I'll admit, you've proved me wrong.
Você provou que eu estava errado.
That made me mad and determined to prove him wrong. Recent excellent results have proved their critics wrong. She proved me wrong after a long quarrel. I will be back to prove you wrong. We would love the opportunity to prove you wrong. Finally, someone had to prove him wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong, Deputy Director. When I prove you wrong, you'll use the full resources of this agency to find my child. Just to prove him wrong, maybe you could give us a hand here. I would like to prove him wrong about a lot of things. Instead of intimidating the investigating officer, it would be much better if you proved her wrong.
Provar que ela está errada. Bridge the gap. Reduz a diferença.
It's a fund that bridges the gap between students' needs and their incomes.
Reduz a diferença.
The book aims to bridge the gap between theory and practice. The policies are designed to close the gap between rich and poor.
Conciliar.
I thought Senator Davis was working to bridge the gap between the parties on this controversial issue. A lingua franca is used to bridge the gap between people who do not speak the same language.
Conectar.
His work bridges the gap between popular fiction and serious literature. We can bridge the gap with a few temporary employees.
Quebrar o galho.
We have no napkins, but paper towels should serve to bridge the gap. I just need to borrow some money to bridge the gap until I get paid again.
Quebrar o galho. Get what someone deserves.
I hope they get what they deserve.
Tenham o que merecem.
Don't worry, that bully will get what he deserves. Just give it time. I'm not sorry he's in prison. In my opinion, he got what he deserved. I really hope those crooks get what they deserve.
Crooks, bandidos.
Why do you feel sorry for him? He got what he deserved. One of them said the two dead joyriders got what they deserved. People who are sent to prison for drunk driving get what they deserve. I like films where the bad guys get what they deserve. You really weren't very nice to her. Well, she got what she deserved. He was a bully, and in the end, he got what he deserved.
Joyride.
He took his grandmother's car for a joyride.
Passeio.
A teenager was stopped on a joyride after stealing her mom's car keys. She took her sister's motorbike for a joyride.
Por passeio. Joyride.
They stole the car and decided to take a joyride on the beach. I hope the joyride with your boyfriend was worth it. They used to take their girlfriends for joyrides in stolen cars. Some teenager stole my car and took it for a joyride. We were just going on a joyride to celebrate. With a sunny sky and not a rain cloud in sight, Saturday was a perfect day to go for a joyride. 3 underage children took the family car for a joyride, but crashed it into a tree on their way home, according to this article.
Change one's tune. Mudou de ideia.
He was against the idea to start with, but he soon changed his tune when he realized how much money he'd get.
Mudou de ideia.
You've changed your tune since this morning, haven't you?
Mudar a opinião.
Yesterday he changed his tune, saying the fare increase was experimental. The mention of a hefty tip really changed the host's tune, so I think he'll be able to find us a table after all. After I threatened him with no allowance, my son changed his tune and started doing his chores. The suspect changed his tune when he learned the police had the evidence. They say my way of doing things is slower, but I think they'll change their tune as soon as they try it. He bragged that the test was easy, but when he saw his grade, he changed his tune.
Mudou de atitude.
The question is, will the president change his tune on taxes? When he got back, he changed his tune. You change your tune every 5 minutes.
From the get-go. Desde o começo.
From the get-go, I knew these tapes were special. He made sure from the get-go that the lawyers understood this was not going to be a circus.
Desde o começo.
Harry's been involved in the project from the get-go. Companies vying for female talent wanted in on the list from the get-go. From the get-go, there was no question about his ability. I've been your friend from the get-go.
Desde o começo.
Borrowing to make distributions was part of the plan from the get-go because of the seasonal nature of the business. She didn't like me from the get-go. They were involved in the project from the get-go.
Desde o começo.
In most cases, it's best just to turn off the comment feature from the get-go. From the get-go, we thought it was important to have fun around here. He has said from the get-go that he doesn't think that words move markets. When you see a movie that looks this good from the get-go, you just know you're in for a terrific time.
Terrific é excelente. Big Gun.
I'm not very big on musicals.
Não curto musicais muito.
I'm not big on kids.
Curto, muito achegado.
I'm not big on foreign cars. I'm not very big on classical music. My sister loves going to clubs because she's really big on dancing. Dad is big on Christmas with the whole family. I've never liked crowds myself, and I'm not that big on advertising either.
Repleto.
The new BMW is big on safety features.
Repleto de funções de segurança.
The Renault 25 was big on gadgets.
Dispositivos, gadgets.
This way you add an element of adventure that's big on thrills and memories.
Repleto.
World War Z is not a movie big on character development.
Que dá muita atenção.
It is not a movie big on special effects and flashiness, but it is a movie big on story. My family is big on education, so I know I'm going to college next year. My family is big on education, so I know I'm going to college next year.
Hardly good too.
You'll be hard put to find a better guy than Bill. Come on, if we don't leave soon, we'll be hard put to get there on time.
Vai ser difícil, né?
I'm hard put to come up with enough money to pay the rent. Under the circumstances, he was hard put to explain himself. Mr. Morton is undoubtedly cleverer than Mr. Kirkby, but he will be hard put to match his popularity. I think the conservatives will be hard put to gain support.
Dificuldades.
You'll be hard put to find a better compromise. Angry Christmas shoppers were hard put to find a space to park, and ended up using every nook and cranny in the town center to park their cars. Children from a number of schools turned up in large numbers, and the volunteers were hard put to regulate the enthusiastic visitors. In the Second World War, the shortage of paper meant that publishers were hard put to stay in business. You'd be hard put to find more friendly and welcoming people anywhere.
Cast a shadow over. Tirou o brilho.
The boy's broken finger cast a shadow over his birthday party.
O dedo quebrado do menino tirou o brilho da sua festa de aniversário.
The boy's broken finger cast a shadow over his birthday party.
Cast a shadow over. Tirou o brilho.
This scandal will undoubtedly cast a shadow over her impeccable career. Her father's illness had cast a shadow over the birth of her baby.
Cast a shadow.
The allegations cast a shadow over the mayor's visit.
Tiraram o brilho.
His sister's illness cast a shadow over the wedding celebrations. Dexter tried to calm his faint resentment against her for casting a shadow over his optimistic mood.
Tirado o brilho.
Even should he reappear tomorrow, his long absence will have cast a shadow over his position. This could cast a shadow over the future of student theater in Oxford. The ongoing violence in Tibet continues to cast a shadow over the Olympics in Beijing. Beth, even if he waits for you, he did this, and the fear of him getting caught is going to cast a shadow over every moment of the rest of your life together.
Everything but the kitchen sink.
Here's a website that has everything but the kitchen sink.
Eis site que tem de tudo e mais pouco.
Here's a website that has everything but the kitchen sink. We were only going to be camping for 2 nights, but she still insisted on bringing everything but the kitchen sink along with us. He hit me with everything but the kitchen sink.
De tudo e pouco mais.
Our new car has every feature, has everything but the kitchen sink. Have a look at this book. It talks of everything but the kitchen sink. You'll find everything but the kitchen sink in that store. When Sally went off to college, she took everything but the kitchen sink.
Tudo que tinha direito.
After losing my job, my family had to move into a smaller home and took everything but the kitchen sink into our new place.
Levou tudo que tinha direito.
We're only going on vacation for a week, but John will insist on taking everything but the kitchen sink. When he and his colleague went on a trip to a remote place for work, he insisted on taking everything but the kitchen sink along. After the bank foreclosed on our house, we had to pack up everything but the kitchen sink into our truck and drive across the state to my mother's house.
Tudo que tinha direito.
Jack orders everything but the kitchen sink when he goes out to dinner, especially if someone else is paying for it.
By default. Falta de alternativa.
If nobody stands against him, he will become leader by default.
Se ninguém se opuser a ele, ele se tornará líder por falta de alternativa.
He became prime minister by default. He became prime minister by default. Chrissy said that she didn't want to end up with Joe by default.
Por falta de alternativa.
I don't think you're here by default.
By default.
They won the last election by default. Perhaps they will be re-elected in the next elections by default, with no one having voted. Friends who are always around each other may be friends almost by default. Who knows? He got the job by default when the first choice dropped out, and even then, it was only through the intervention of someone important. The other team failed to turn up, so we won by default. If he's unable to return, the Fighting Dragons will win by default.
Ganharão.
Miranda wasn't ready to let Steve win by default.
WO. Take one's chances. Vou me arriscar.
I know it's a long shot, but I'll take my chances anyway.
Vou me arriscar.
It is just not worth taking any chances.
Simplesmente não compensa se arriscar.
The rope might break, but that's a chance we'll have to take. After losing $20,000 on my last business venture, I'm not taking any chances this time. You have to take chances for peace, just as you must take chances in war.
Se arriscar.
She knew she was taking a chance, but she decided to buy the house anyway. Victor took a chance and set up his own company, which has been very successful. If you don't take your chances in a game, you're never going to succeed. This deal could bankrupt the company, but if it works, it will make us a fortune. Let's take our chances.
Vamos tomar o risco.
I've no idea whether this scheme will work. I'll just take my chances.
Me arriscar.
Take no chances. Don't lend money to people you don't know.
The least someone can do. O mínimo que você pode fazer.
The least you can do is apologize. Do I have to go and say hi to him? Yes, he's been very nice to you, so it's the least you can do.
O mínimo que você pode fazer.
I know you're angry with your father, but it seems like he really wants to make amends. The least you can do is hear him out.
Amends, pazes.
The least he could do is tell me what happened. Thank you so much for the lovely card and wonderful bottle of wine. It was the least we could do after you took care of our pets while we were away. Thank you so much for helping me. Well, it was the least I could do. Why not relax and let me teach you how to do this? It's the least I can do. Right, thanks anyway. It was the least I could do. Dorota, when I get you a gift, the least you can do is to enjoy it. I wasn't expecting that, so the least you can do is just give me a minute to take it all in.
Bad apple. Más influências.
Tim and Jack are really bad apples for you.
Bad apple.
The best way to deal with bad apples is to take them out of the group as quickly as possible. Jeremy is really a bad apple. After 5 minutes with my usually well-behaved kids, they're all acting out. It's an opportunity for them to make clear that they are not going to tolerate a bad apple.
Má influência.
In any profession, there's always the bad apple, isn't there? We have seen that one bad apple can really destroy relationships. We have seen that one bad apple can really destroy relationships. In any group of average citizens, there are bound to be a few bad apples. We appear at times to be more concerned with the one bad apple in the pile than with all the good ones. We should not condemn the whole system just because of one bad apple. One troublesome child can be a bad apple, infecting others.
Má influência.
They made it clear that they are not going to tolerate a bad apple in the United States Senate. It is hoped the inquiry will point out the bad apples in the police force. In response to the allegations of mass corruption within the team, he said, "There may be a bad apple in the pack, but the majority are clean and honest."
Rough around the edges.
The workers are a little bit rough around the edges, but they're fine chaps, every one of them.
Os trabalhadores são um pouco rudes.
He's a bit rough around the edges, but he's wonderful with kids.
Ele é um pouco rude, mas é maravilhoso com crianças.
He's a bit rough around the edges, but he's wonderful with kids. The boys are a little rough around the edges, but they are all right.
Rude.
This video is still a bit rough around the edge, but it's pretty close to what we want the finished product to look like.
Imperfeito.
Our product is still rough around the edges, so it's too early to think about advertising it. This old truck's a little rough around the edge, but it's still the most reliable vehicle I've owned. The house was a bit rough around the edges, but it was fine for us.
Rústica.
The text looks pretty rough around the edges.
Mal acabado.
I finished it, but it's still a little rough around the edges.
Little rough around the edges.
While rough around the edges, the church is really a wonderful place to be. The north side of town is a less expensive, rougher around the edges choice for a young family.
Mais rústica.
His writing is appealing, but a bit rough around the edges.
Inexperiente.
The new employee is still a little rough around the edges.
Inexperiente.
You're still a bit rough around the edges, but with constant practice, you will become an expert programmer.
Take a shot.
He took a shot at the deer and missed.
Atirou no veado e errou.
I took a shot at the target, but didn't even come close.
Atirar no alvo.
The officer took a shot into the air above the suspect as a warning. Take a shot at this math problem.
Faça uma tentativa.
I never changed a tire before, but I'll take a shot at it.
Farei uma tentativa.
I don't know if I'll be able to do much better, but I'll take a shot. I don't know the answer to your question, but I'll take a shot anyway. I haven't played tennis before, but I'm going to take a shot this weekend. They took shots at each other throughout the debate.
Eles criticaram um ao outro.
I feel bad for taking a shot at him like that, but he was so dumb that I couldn't resist saying something. I feel like you've been taking shots at me all day. What's your problem?
Criticando.
He's not known for his civility, and he's not afraid to take a shot when someone annoys him. Be sure to take a shot of the house.
Tirar uma fotografia.
I'd like to take a shot in there, if it's okay with you. Can anybody take a shot of me?
Land on one's feet. Acabou se dando bem.
He lost his job, but landed on his feet when he was hired by another company just a few days later. Don't worry, she always lands on her feet.
Sai por cima.
She's really landed on her feet with this new job. I wouldn't worry about Chloe. No matter what bizarre scheme she gets mixed up in, she always lands on her feet. He has fallen on his feet with a new career, set to earn him a fortune.
Saiu por cima.
Well, you really fell on your feet this time, didn't you? A job in Rome, a large flat, a company car. He has good looks and charm, and always lands on his feet. She certainly landed on her feet when she got that job. Capra lost his job, but landed on his feet when Columbia Pictures hired him. After some ups and downs, he has finally landed on his feet. He said his son was a lucky person who always landed on his feet. She's very talented, and she's definitely going to land on her feet.
Safe bet.
The earrings seemed like a safe bet for a birthday present.
Aposta segura. Safe bet.
If you want a cheap holiday with lots of sunshine, then Spain is a safe bet.
É aposta segura. Safe
The
bet.
department felt that she was a safe bet for the account manager position. If you're looking for long-term growth, the government's own savings certificates are a pretty safe bet. Only a few months ago, he had looked like a safe bet. It's a safe bet that Martin will be the last to arrive.
É certeza que.
Based on his grades, it's a pretty safe bet that Harry won't be able to graduate on time. It's a safe bet that the others won't make the same mistake. It is a safe bet that, as the Western world gets fatter, the people on its television screens will continue to get thinner. It is a safe bet that the current owners will not sell.
Cool off. Refrescamo-nos.
We cooled off with a swim in the lake. Drink plenty of cold water to cool yourself off. Maybe he's trying to cool off out there in the rain. She made a fanning motion, pretending to cool herself off. We went for a swim to cool ourselves off.
Refrescando.
Cool off with an iced drink. Cool off the carrots quickly.
Resfrie.
We had to wait until the engine had cooled off before restarting the car. By late autumn, Mediterranean islands have cooled off, and can have rainy days. The rain had cooled everything off.
Esfriar tudo. Acalmado.
I think you should wait until she's cooled off a little. A few hours in a police cell should cool him off.
Acalmá-lo.
He slammed the door and went for a walk to cool off. Let him cool off. You can talk about it later. I'm really busy, but when things cool off, I'll come and see you. Just try to cool off and think rationally.
Knick-knack. Badulaques. Badulaques.
The shelves were covered with ornaments and useless knickknacks.
Badulaques inúteis.
It is technically a harmonica, but it is generally regarded as a knickknack that can be used as personal jewelry. There was an exhibition of exquisite artifacts like cutlery baskets and knickknacks crafted from bamboo.
Badulaques.
She has a collection of colorful knickknacks. In half an hour, not a corner remained unexplored, not a knickknack unlifted by the police. He stopped, took up a knickknack, examined it mechanically, and then resumed his walk. My aunt gave me this useless knickknack for my birthday. I think I'm going to sell it. I got some lovely knickknacks from this terrific antique store. The dresser has a bunch of little knickknacks on it.
Knickknacks. With bated breath.
Every Monday, the whole office used to wait with bated breath for his report.
Com fôlego suspenso.
We listened with bated breath to Grandma's stories of her travels.
With bated breath.
The people in the villages were watching with bated breath as the experiment began. Flora and I waited with bated breath to hear what Evelyn considered sensible. I was waiting with bated breath for him to say something, anything, that wasn't a cliché. I was waiting with bated breath for the outcome of my job interview. We waited with bated breath for the winner to be announced. They waited for the answer on their application with bated breath. From July onwards, the town had waited with bated breath.
Fôlego suspenso.
The soldiers' families waited with bated breath for news.
Respiração suspensa. Bad blood.
There has been bad blood between the two families for years.
Tem havido inimizades.
I am sorry to say that the crisis in the industry has also led to a certain amount of bad blood. I
Inimizade.
do not think anyone will suspect me of wishing to make bad blood between the countries. The situation has reached crisis point because of the bad blood between the two.
Inimizades.
Last year's brutal playoff series created some bad blood between these two teams.
Bad blood.
There's bad blood between Elise and Piper, so don't leave them alone together. Weddings or funerals are no place for bad blood. There is bad blood between Fred and Jim. They cannot be civil to one another. There is no bad blood between us. I don't know why we should quarrel.
Naysayer. He ignored the naysayers and persevered. Ele ignorou os derrotistas e perseverou. There are always naysayers who say it can be done. Derrotistas. Despite a general feeling that things were going too well, a few naysayers had their doubters. I agree with the naysayer. Eu concordo com os derrotistas. The naysayers had been proved wrong so far. Os derrotistas foram desmentidos até agora. Derrotistas, naysayers. Anyone's guess. It's anyone's guess who will win the election. É uma incógnita quem ganhará a eleição. It's anybody's guess what happened. É uma incógnita o que aconteceu. How long the fuel would last was anyone's guess. Por quanto tempo o combustível duraria era uma incógnita. É uma incógnita. Anyone's guess. Incógnita. Anyone's guess. Not have a leg to stand on. Não tinha base alguma. If you have no witnesses, you don't have a leg to stand on. Se você não tiver testemunhas, você não tem como provar nada. Stand on, não tem base alguma, não tem como provar nada. Don't have a leg to stand on. I haven't got a leg to stand on. I had no witnesses. Eu não tenho como provar nada. Não ter como provar nada. Have no right. Right. You have no right to be here. Você não tem o direito de estar aqui. He has no right to speak to me like that. Não ter o direito. Não ter o direito. You have no right. Lay something on the line. Firefighters lay their lives on the line every working day. Os bombeiros arriscam suas vidas. Lay the career on the line. Arriscando minha carreira. I'm going to lay it on the line and you had better listen to me. Eu abrirei o jogo e é melhor que você me escute.
You're just going to have to lay it on the line and tell her that her work's not good enough.
Abrir o jogo.
If you lay it on the line, maybe they'll be able to understand how serious this situation is. I've said it before, but this time I'm going to lay it on the line. I have no interest in forming a partnership with you. He laid it on the line and said that without treatment, I would have only 3 months to live. He had planned to march straight over to her house and lay everything on the line.
Abrir totalmente o jogo.
She laid it on the line, telling us that we would fail the exam unless we worked hard. It was time to lay it on the line and tell her the truth about his past.
Get the wrong end of the stick. Entendeu errado. My mom got the wrong end of the stick and thought that Jim was my boyfriend. Minha mãe entendeu errado e achou que era o Jim, que era o meu namorado. Entender errado. To get the wrong end of the stick. You got the wrong end of the stick. Você entendeu errado. Entendeu errado. Be there for. He would be there for her when she needed a shoulder to cry on. Quem estaria ao lado dela? He always been there for me. Ele esteve ao meu lado. I'll be there for you. Eu te apoiarei. I'm here for her. Eu a apoiarei. Help yourself. Just help yourselves. Sirvam-se. Help yourselves. Sirve-se. So help yourself. Fique à vontade. Help yourself. Sirvam-se. Please help yourself to some cake. I prepared some printed handouts. Feel free to help yourselves. Preparei alguns materiais impressos. Fiquem à vontade para pegá-los. Help yourself to a newspaper magazine and relax a little while. Pegando, helping. He'd been helping himself to money from my purse on months. Roubando. He helped himself to the car keys. Tell tales. Fofocar. Eu hesitei, não querendo fofocar sobre o meu colega. I hesitate not want to tell tales about my colleague. Tell tales, fofoca. Tell tales. Don't tell tales, dear. Não dedure, queridos. Don't go telling tales to the teacher. Não vá dedurar para o professor. Dedurar. Tell tales. Let alone. He would never walk again, let alone play golf. Que dirá jogar golf, let alone. Que dirá? They can afford a meal out, let alone a trip. You have no room for another house guest, let alone an entire family. Let alone. Que dirá? You can afford a vacation, let alone a trip to Disney World. Que dirá? She didn't even apologize, let alone offer to pay for the damage. Getting the short end of the stick. Levando a pior. Unusual, it's the consumer who gets the short end of the stick. Que sai perdendo. She got the short end of the stick in the deal. Ela saiu perdendo no acordo. Sair perdendo. Get the short end of the stick. Levar pior, sair perdendo. See the point. Ver sentido.
Most of the employees couldn't see the point of further training.
Não ver sentido, né?
I just don't see the point of another year in high school when I know I can go find a job now. I thought about taking some extra classes this summer, but I'm not sure I see the point in that. I don't see the point of voting. All politicians are more or less the same anyway. I've never seen the point of making up my bed when I'm just going to mess it up again the next night. No offense, but I just don't see the point of doing this. We're going to lose anyway, so I can't see the point of playing. I didn't see the point in moving to London. I see your point, but I don't think there's anything we can do at the moment. Okay, I see your point, but it's not that easy. All right, I see your point. I should have asked you first.
Pack a punch. Socar. Pesado de verdade.
Knowing Bob could pack a wicked punch, they were careful not to anger him. He's a boxer who packs a nasty punch.
Soca pesado pra valer.
For such a scrawny kid, George sure can pack a punch. Even the older kids are afraid of him. His speech packed quite a punch.
O discurso dele foi bem potente.
These cocktails taste quite innocent, but they really pack a punch. I don't like spicy food, so I hope this salsa doesn't pack a punch. That vodka martini packed a wallop.
Pack a wallop. Era potente.
It's a novel that packs a wallop.
Tem efeito poderoso.
He is known for designing clothes that really pack a punch.
Efeito realmente poderoso.
Many years after it was made, this movie still packs a wallop.
Causa impacto.
Their latest advertising campaign packs a hard punch. Don't drink too much of his homemade beer. It packs quite a punch.
Who knew?
Majesty, who knew you could be so practical?
Quem diria?
Well, who knew Mike would be a chef here in Vegas? Dude, who knew learning Hindi would actually pay off?
Who knew?
Who knew shopping could be so complicated?
Quem diria que fazer compras poderia ser tão complicado?
Who knew a shop could be this glamorous? I mean, who would have thought that I'd ever cook anything?
Quero dizer, quem diria eu iria cozinhar o que quer que fosse?
Fred just quit his job and went to Africa. Who knew he could do such a thing? They say Bill is training for the Olympics in his spare time. Who knew? Who knew that he would be so good at singing? Who knew mistakes like that could happen?
Show the ropes. Show the ropes.
I know there's a lot to take in, but your partner has been here for over 10 years and will show you the ropes.
Lhe mostrará como se faz.
This class is intense. You're expected to know how to do everything from day one without anyone showing you the ropes.
Sem que ninguém lhe mostre como.
Jake will take you around and show you the ropes. He promised to work overtime teaching Brown the ropes. Lynn spent an afternoon showing the new girl the ropes. Jack has been here for years. He'll show you the ropes.
Vai lhe mostrar tudo.
If you stick around, I can show you the ropes. I am keen to learn how to do it and want to motivate my wife to show me the ropes. Training camp is a time for young players to prove themselves, for veterans to show the ropes to the rookies.
To have a soft spot for someone.
They both have a soft spot for puppies.
As duas têm fraco por cachorrinhos.
She was known for two things: loving her family and having a soft spot in her heart for horses that were being neglected. Terry had a soft spot for me.
Tinha fraco por mim.
I've always had a soft spot for her.
Tive uma queda por ela.
I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Denver. Though he denied being in love with her, it was evident that he had a soft spot for her. He could never see her unhappy and was always caring for her. I don't particularly like most dogs, but I do have a soft spot for poodles. She had a soft spot for her youngest brother and was always fighting for him, even if it was his fault. Though my uncle is always bungling and goofing things up, I have a soft spot for him. He has a big heart and means well. I have a soft spot for him. No matter what he does, I'll always support him.
Make sure.
Make sure he's honest before you lend him any money.
Certifique-se.
I think I locked it, but we'd better make sure. I just wanted to make sure you knew where to go. Always make sure of your facts before accusing anyone. First, make sure the printer has enough paper in it. I wanted to make sure you were all right. I'll walk you home just to make sure no one bothers you. Police were there to make sure there was no violence. They made sure everyone knew where they were supposed to be.
Garantiram.
Thomas would be sorry. She would make sure of that.
Garantia.
Make sure you turn the oven off. Make sure you're home by midnight. Make sure you tell them I said hi.
In spite of.
I ended up having a good time in spite of myself.
Eu acabei me divertindo contra minha vontade.
Almost in spite of himself, he did well at Latin. He was a bit depressed, so I tried to cheer him up with a joke. He smiled in spite of himself. Angie responds in spite of herself when Kane flirts with her. She knew he was a bad man, but she loved him in spite of herself. The picture made her laugh in spite of herself.
Involuntariamente.
When I see a couple, I feel a stab of envy in spite of myself. I went along to my session, and I was shaking in spite of myself. I was, in spite of myself, reminded of the fact when I saw him.
Involuntariamente.
I hurried home, my heart pounding and my hands trembling in spite of myself. I could not believe it. I was scared senseless when I realized there was a burglar in the house, but I laughed in spite of myself when he slipped on a banana peel on the kitchen floor.
Word on the street.
Word on the street is that the company is going out of business.
Dizem as más línguas.
The word on the street is that you're pregnant. What? That is simply not true. There are many people stopping by Shelley's office because word on the street is that she's leaving the company. The word on the street is that Roy was guilty. Word on the street is that he'll be back next month.
Dizem as más línguas.
You know, the word on the street is that she has a knack for separating rich guys from their hard-earned dough. However, word on the street is that you're in love with the First Lady. Well, word on the street is I don't help anyone. I'll be fine, especially since word on the street is the defense lawyer is a total hack. The word on the street is that they're looking for somebody new. I won't close the deal with him because the word on the street is that he's not an honest guy.
As I live and breathe.
He lives and breathes music. He has lived and breathed soccer since he was 7.
Tem vivido para.
Politics is the stuff I live and breathe. Fans live and breathe for either the Celtics or Rangers. Residents of the city live and breathe high school football. Bob lives and breathes motor scooters. As I live and breathe, I haven't seen you in years.
Que surpresa! Eu não te vejo há anos.
As I live and breathe, I haven't seen you in years. As I live and breathe, here we are again. Well, as I live and breathe, it's Harry Smith. As I live and breathe, I've never thought this would happen to me.
Que surpresa! Mais words.
Wow, your aunt really doesn't mince her words. Is my shirt really that ugly?
Não ter papas na língua.
Let me know what you think of the story when you're done, and please don't mince words.
Don't mince words.
That man does not mince words. He will say exactly what he thinks.
Não mede as palavras.
Tell me what you think, and don't mince your words. A frank person never minces words. The report does not mince words, describing the situation as ludicrous. He's never been the kind of politician to mince words.
Mede as palavras.
She minces no words in stating her opinions. Tom didn't mince words and told me straight away that I had failed. He didn't mince any words in his criticism of the department.
Downer. Deprimente.
You lost your job? That's a real downer. These cloudy days are always downers.
Deprimente.
Geez, that movie was a real downer. Your car's been stolen? That's a real downer.
Deprimente.
What happened last week was a bit of a downer. I'm sorry for being so quiet. This day was just a downer.
Deprimente.
Her parents' misery and gloomy lives were a downer, and she felt that they had no place in her fun city life. She was taking downers at the time.
Tomando sedativos na época.
I guess those drugs were downers because they took all of my energies. Too much booze with those downers, and you're dead. Some pills used by the slimming industry can effectively be called downers. The argument put a downer on our school holiday break.
Tirou a graça.
The foul weather really put a downer on our picnic yesterday.
Tirou a graça do nosso piquenique.
What he did put a real downer on our trip.
Tirou a graça da nossa viagem.
The construction happening near our hotel has really put a downer on our vacation.
Tirou a graça das nossas férias.
Her dad has a downer on every guy she meets.
O pai dela não gosta de nenhum cara que ela conhece.
If the boss has a downer on you, I doubt you'll get a good performance review. For some reason, Jackie has always had a downer on me.
Back on track. Voltar ao normal.
I tried to get my life back on track after the divorce. I tried to get my life back on track after the divorce. It may take some time to get the economy back on track. Her life was a mess after her mother died, but now she is back on track. Now I have someone helping me at work, so things will soon be back on track. Her parents have moved out, so her relationship with her husband is back on track. I hope we can have this project back on track by the end of the week.
Back on track.
I skipped a couple of workouts last week, but today I'm going to get back on track. We were behind schedule on this job, but we're back on track now. The team finally got back on the rails after losing 3 matches.
Voltou aos eixos.
Hopefully, the Middle East peace process will soon be back on track. The research work is now back on track after a period of confusion and frustration. That's a good point, but let's get back on track here. The purpose of this meeting is to decide about the budget. I'm sure all of you have very interesting weekend plans, but we need to get this meeting back on track.
Retomar o assunto.
If we don't get back on track here, we will surely fail the exam.
Ballpark figure. Estimativa.
Do you have a ballpark figure for the cost of the renovations?
Estimativa do custo da reforma.
That's just a ballpark figure. They don't know exactly how many people will be attending the event.
Estimativa.
I know you can't tell me the exact cost. Just give me a ballpark figure.
Apenas me dê uma estimativa.
The management was given a ballpark figure at the very beginning of the presentation. How much are we talking about here? A few hundred? Thousand? Millions? Give me a ballpark figure. I don't need an exact number. A ballpark figure will do.
Valor aproximado servirá.
In a ballpark figure, I think it will be 60 to 40. 60% will support, and 40% will be opposed.
Valor aproximado.
No more stalling. Give me a ballpark figure of our projected losses. I save a ballpark figure of 20% from my salary every month for a rainy day.
Valor aproximado.
Did you know that this building will cost a ballpark figure of $1 million?
Square, straight, shooter. Camarada de bem.
Joe's a square shooter. If he says that Alice is taking money out of the cash register, then I believe him. Sal's a real square shooter. If you ask for his opinion, he'll tell you without trying to sugarcoat it.
Sal é um cara sincero de verdade.
He wouldn't do anything shabby. He's a square shooter. He is widely praised as honest and a straight shooter.
Homem direito.
He's a straight shooter, honest, and he knows everything that is going on in media. He is a straight shooter and one of the 2 or 3 smartest people I have ever met. Be a real straight shooter. Employees will appreciate your honesty.
Cara direito.
I think he has a reputation in Washington as being a real straight shooter. But at least he had the virtue of being a straight shooter. His players and coaches respect him because he's a straight shooter who always is fair.
Basket case.
I was a basket case by the end of the day.
Uma pilha de nervos ao final do dia.
I was so worried about losing my job that I was a complete basket case. Sarah was so nervous on her first day of high school that she burst into tears. She was a complete basket case. By the end of the course, I was a basket case.
Pilha de
My
nervos.
weeks of worry were so intense that I was a real basket case afterwards. If I tell you this, you're going to think I'm a complete basket case.
Maluco.
Mary comes to work in tears every day. I'm telling you, she's turning into a basket case. How did the interview go? Terrible. I'm sure they thought I was a complete basket case. 20 years ago, the country was an economic basket case.
Caso perdido.
Right after the war, the conquered nation was considered an economic basket case. If the unemployment rate doesn't decrease soon, the country is going to become a financial basket case.
Caso perdido.